Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Football Zone Podcast, the first official Football Zone podcast. I am your host, Cameron, and this is the other host,
Lewis.
And this podcast, well, obviously being our first one, is centered around the football world. So we're going to cover top 5 leagues, Champions League, basically all things football.
Related. And then on this first video today, probably the reason why you clicked on is Premier League predictions.
I was going to say, I'm just going to get my phone up because I've got my predictions on my phone.
Yeah, we're going to go from 20th, starting rock bottom, all the way up until top of the league, and work way up and discuss a few teams on the way.
I think we just rattle off our first bottom 3.
Bottom 3, little discussion. Yeah.
My bottom 3 are Bournemouth, Forest, and Everton.
Bournemouth, Southampton, Everton.
Oh, so we've got
two out of 3 the same
teams
in relegation spots.
Mainly for let's just talk about Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, bottom of the league.
Haven't really recruited pure quality. I mean, the first 2 games were against City and who else did they play against? I'm not too sure who else they played against. I don't think
they've struggled in the first couple of games already.
I mean, they've played against City, so it's not going to be plain sailing. Everyone's going to struggle against City.
But it's a case of recruitment-wise, they've come in. Obviously, the last time they were in the league, they didn't have the best of sides. That's why they got relegated. Didn't really add much in with the Championship, and then coming back up, they've got the same Championship side.
Yeah,
they've added 5 signings, but they're not major signings where the likes of Forest and Fulham who have come up have added the right players into their squad.
Of course,
Bournemouth haven't done so, and I think that they'll struggle. Obviously, they've got Scott Parker as a manager who is a young manager, so he's got time to develop. But at Premier League, ready to take a team like Bournemouth and keep them up, I wouldn't say so. So I think they'll struggle this season.
Same boat for Everton. We've both got Everton in the 17th spot.
Yeah, 18th spot.
18th spot, not 17th spot. 18th spot. Oh.
If you are wondering, also, we are watching the Leeds-Chelsea game live, and it's 84th minute, Leeds are winning 3-0, and Koulibaly's just been sent off.
Wow. So that's why I reacted with the but anyway, back to the premise of the video.
Back to Premier League predictions,
So Everton have looked poor. They were poor at the end of last season, poor at the start of the season. I don't see them winning a lot of games. I don't see them seeing a lot of games out. I just don't think they've got the team to stay in the Premier League. And they don't have the manager to stay in the Premier League.
At the start of the season, when they put out their first 11, and I saw it, I was just like, that's a relegation betting inside that.
Yeah.
Like, they've brought in Dwight McNeil from Burnley for £25 million. That's apparently a key signing.
Yeah.
He hasn't done well last season at Burnley. He got 1 goal, 1 assist or something like that.
Yeah.
I know it's a Burnley side that got relegated, but if he's your star man, you're expecting him to do more than that for you.
100%.
And if he's your main signing at Everton, that's screaming struggling. They've got Conor Cody in on loan, Tarkowski who got relegated at Burnley on a free. It's just not good signings.
Yeah.
It's going to scream staying.
So we've also have a bit of a difference in what would put in between the Bournemouth Everton sandwich in the bottom 3, which is you've gone with Southampton, I've gone with Nottingham Forest.
Forest, yeah.
So you want to start off with why you've chose Southampton?
Yeah, Southampton. I know Southampton have been in the Premier League for a long time.
Yeah.
But last season, Burnley were that team, been in the Premier League for a long time. Sean Dyche played a 4-4-2 formation and very stuck in his way. Hasenhüttl plays 4-4-2 and was very stuck in the ways. 4-4-2 doesn't work in modern day Premier League football.
Well, I was going to say Premier League football.
There's not many teams that play, if any, play with 4-4-2, and the teams that do struggle.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some tiff between Hasenhüttl and the board and Hasenhüttl and the players as well.
So there's clearly a figure there in between.
Yeah.
There is an underlying issue with Hasenhüttl at the club.
Yeah, and I think some of them players, such as your Romeos and your Ward-Prowses and Che Adams and players like that, I think they would want to try and push higher up the table.
Yeah.
But I don't think the players in and around are going to be able to do so. That that's why I think Southampton are struggling. I think this is the season Southampton are going to get relegated, because you've got the other teams that we'll list above, I think, of a higher quality than Southampton are.
100%. So me with Forest, I think there's a case for them staying up, in terms of they've brought in a lot of players and they've brought in some quality players along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But they've brought in far too many players. They've brought in 17 players.
17 signings in one window.
So they've got a very, very big squad now.
Yeah, because obviously you've got all the players that came up from the Championship alongside them.
Exactly. And you've got to think, like, how are these players going to gel? If the players gel, then fair play. They've got a good chance of staying up, because there is quality in that team now.
Yes, I've got Forest a little bit higher up on my table, but in terms of the quality that they do have,
there is potential for them to be staying up.
Obviously, if you take away Gibbs White's enormous transfer fee of £44.5 million, he is a good player, and I think because he's going to go, obviously, probably he's one of the most expensive players in that club's history.
Yeah,
he's going to be a star in that team, and he has a chance to shine.
Oh yeah.
But as players who have brought them up in the Championship for the first time in 30 plus years, they've got to be thinking, where's my chance to shine in the big time?
Exactly. They want to play in the Premier League as well, so there's going to be an upset in that dressing room as well.
Like, I understand the point of signing players and progressing and improving your squad.
You have to when you're coming up.
You have to. Something that Bournemouth hasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
Forest have done, but maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, I think that it's very reminiscent of the Fulham that came up and spent £150 million.
And got
Maybe he's not on 17 players, but still spent £150 million.
When Fulham did that, they just spent money on whoever.
Exactly.
The signings, not necessarily signings that they needed.
Yeah.
I know Forest are trying to sign well. You know, they brought in Henderson on loan, good signing. Lingard in on a free, good signing. Gibbs White in, and that striker who used to play for Liverpool that I can't pronounce the name of.
Yeah.
Signed him from the Bundesliga. He looks like a good player.
Yeah.
But for you, obviously, you're saying that they're going to get relegated.
Yeah.
I'll have them in a relegation scrap, but I think they will stay up because of the quality of player that they brought in.
So 17th and 16th, the two teams that'll be just surviving in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I've went with Aston Villa and Leeds. I've
got Brentford and Forest.
I'm just going to say this right now. I made these predictions this morning before this Chelsea-Leeds game kicked off.
Yeah.
I'm regretting my decision slightly.
After watching Leeds play against Chelsea here.
I was thinking to myself, as they've lost Calvin Phillips.
And Rafinha,
two players that really helped them survive last season.
Yeah.
They would struggle a lot getting forward and also just defensively, but I feel like I am quite wrong.
They look like a well-rounded unit and a good team here, but
the formation is clearly working.
Yeah.
If you don't play striker and centre midfield,
like Bielsa did,
apparently that works.
Yeah, well, Rodrigo's got 3 goals in 3 games now. But
I mean, not everyone is as good as Joe Linton and can play in every position. I understand that, because
Joe Linton was a fantastic striker.
Yeah, well, I can guarantee if you were a striker right now, he'd bag 25 goals. No, anyway, back
17th and 16th for me. 17th is Brentford, 16th is Forest. Like I was saying, I think Forest will be in a scrap, but I think they'll survive because, yes, they brought in loads of players, but they brought in some quality players and players that they did need. Brentford, for me, I mean, they've signed 9 players. They're not obviously all major signings. They're good. They'll pinch points and they'll win games here and there. They're a good outfit, but I think the teams above them have just got more individual quality than Brentford do. Brentford are a decent team with a decent manager, but I think the other teams around them have more individual quality than they do, so I think that's why they're a little bit lower down and will be in the relegation scrap.
Yeah, so I think we should rattle off from 15th.
10th?
Yeah,
15th to 10th?
15th to 10th, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start, and 15th I've got Brentford, so it's in a similar position. You had Brentford 16th.
I had Brentford 17th. I've got 15th, I've got Villa. 14th, Leicester.
14th I've got Southampton, so...
For 13th, Leeds.
I've got Brighton in 13th.
Fulham 12th.
I've got Wolves in 12th.
11th, Brighton.
11th, Leicester.
Palace 10th.
And I've got Fulham 10th. So, in that list...
Yeah, the reason why we just listed them off is because it's so hard to predict the Premier League table.
Not only that, it's just hard to predict that section
of where teams are going to finish, but we'll have a little word on a few teams in that mix there. So, anyone you want to touch on? Villa
is 17th for me, so
yeah.
I won't. Well, I'll go over why I think Villa 17th first. Yeah. When I was watching that Crystal Palace game, they looked so disorganized. Well, maybe it's not disorganized, but they looked so scared to make any mistakes. So they weren't like actually being free flowing. They didn't have the confidence like Crystal Palace did. Crystal Palace had the confidence to just play football.
I've got Villa sat 15th. I think I can compare them against Brentford. I think what I'm saying about Brentford is they don't have the individual players, but they have a good team squad and good unit when they play. Yeah. Villa are the opposite. They've got good individual players, but I don't think they yet have a system to play. Yeah. I think the signings that they made, Kamara in that midfield role, top signing. Jacob Ramsey under Gerrard's influence could be an awesome player. Leon Bailey, if he stays fully fit, looks terrific. Up front, they've got Ings and Watkins, two very good Premier League proven strikers. Yeah. Unfortunately, signed Diego Carlos, who got injured straight away. Yeah. They do have good individual players. I think it's down to trying to get them all playing in the same system and playing well. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's for me with Villa.
That's basically my point. If they don't play well and they don't gel the same way as I was talking about Forest, I think they have to fuck their ideas up. They're going to be in a relegation scrap if they continue playing like they were playing. They need to play with that fluidity that they did play for a bit when last season January, at the end of them, then they played with a bit of fluidity and confidence, and they were winning games, and then I don't know where that went, and it really dropped off.
Honeymoon phase finished with new manager coming in.
Anyway, so gonna talk about Fulham. I want to talk about Fulham.
I'll speak about Leicester, but go on with Fulham. Newly promoted team, and we're both saying that they're going to do quite well. I've got them 12th.
But in 10th. So we both got them reasonably high up in our list. Well, for a newly promoted team.
For getting promoted, yeah, definitely.
But there's a reason behind it, because how well they played against Liverpool. Yeah. They just beat Brentford. Yeah. And have they played a third game? I'm not too sure. I can't remember.
Yeah.
No, they have played 3 games because Mitchell's got 3.
Yeah, he's got 3.
I can't remember the other game, but the looked well. I personally, but I was watching that Liverpool Fulham game, and they deserved to get 3 points that game.
Yeah, they're looking good. I think with having Marco Silva as a manager who has Premier League experience,
that's helped them
managing is helping them a lot. Because like we touched on last time they came up with the Prem, they spent 150 million, got relegated. Yeah. This time around, they're signing players and they're signing well. They're signing positions where they need to bring players in.
They've brought a quality goalkeeper in.
They've brought a quality goalkeeper in.
And he's also played in the Premier League for a long time.
Yeah, they've got Andres Pereira, who's coming from Man U. Great signing.
He's actually now able to play in a position
in that number 10 position. They've got Pellina coming from Sporting as well, who looks like a good central midfielder there as well. Mbabu at right back.
Some good players.
And the link with signing Justin Kluivert from AS Roma as well.
Well, that'll be a replacement for
Carvalho, who signed for us. Yeah. So Fulham are looking good because they're signing well and signing players that they need to sign, sort of thing.
So you've got Leicester a little bit further down on your list.
I've got Leicester sat 14th. Now, I like Leicester. think they're a great team, and they've been a great Premier League outfit for a while. And the last 2-3 seasons have always been trying to push for those Europa League and Champions League spots. Finishing 14th this season is all based on if they sell the players that are linked to leaving.
Yeah.
So they've got Fofana, Tielemans and Maddison all heavily linked with moves.
Yeah.
And those are 3 of their best, if not best players that they have at their squad. You've got Fofana, who got left out the squad this weekend. Rodgers said it was because his head isn't in the right place to play at the minute. So he's obviously eyeing the Chelsea move.
Yeah.
He's heavily linked with Chelsea, which he is an awesome footballer. You've then got Yuri Tielemans, who was left on the bench.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen to Tielemans at Leicester.
No. Not when he's such a focal point in that midfield.
Yeah, he's heavily linked with wanting that move to Arsenal as well. Brighton beat West Ham 2-0. But Tielemans heavily linked with Arsenal, and then obviously Maddison is heavily linked with a big money move to use.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind that happening. He's a quality footballer.
Yeah, he really is.
But the thing is, though, you've got them solo down in case they leave.
In case they leave. I think if all 3 of them stay, I think they'll be higher and they'll do well.
Yeah.
But if I think Fofana and Tielemans will leave, I think Maddison will stay.
Yeah.
That's a big core of your team gone. Not to mention Schmeichel, their captain since coming up through League One to Championship to Premier League. Key player in their team is just went to Nice.
Was he not just the captain?
Yeah, he was the captain.
He
was a captain for a long time, and it wasn't like they announced it in February that our Schmeichel, who's been playing at the club for 10 years and the captain of our club, is leaving at the end of the summer. Thank you for your service.
And thanks for winning
it was just all of a sudden Schmeichel's left and gone to Nice. And now you've got Danny Ward. Don't get us wrong, Wales is number 1 and is a good goalkeeper.
But it's Welsh number 1. It's not that hard.
But Schmeichel was obviously the captain, but he had such a charisma and such a presence in that team.
Yeah.
That's gone. And that's going to have a massive effect on the rest of the team. Exactly. And then you're going to go into the season, without your captain, potentially without 2 or 3 of your best footballers.
Mm-hmm.
And they've only signed 1 player in on a free this summer. They haven't done any other business. So I think they'll struggle and finish 14th this season.
Yep. I mean, I completely agree. So we'll get 8th and 9th in now.
8th and 9th? Yeah.
So in 9th position, I put Crystal Palace. For basically the reasons that I discussed before. They look like a confident team.
I've got Palace 10, so round about the same. Yeah. I think Vieira having a full season as a Premier League manager, Eze coming back in that number 10 position is like a new signing after being injured all last season.
Mm-hmm. They look like a team with confidence.
They've got a good core in the team. The 2 centre halves in Guy and Anderson, and then Mitchell at left back as well.
Good left back. He's got to stay under the radar because he could potentially have a massive ruined career if he is linked to Manchester United for 50
and signed for 50 million quid.
The thing is, though, Manchester United need a left back. He must.
Why they've got Malacia in now, but we'll touch on that.
I thought is he not a right back?
Malacia?
Oh,
no, he's a left back. Yeah. So obviously you've got Palace, who've both got finishing mid-table and quite strongly. I think their presence going forward, Zaha, Eze, Elise, all those players, really good outfit.
So who was your 9th?
So I've got Wolves 9th and Newcastle 8th. Newcastle finishing 8th. I think Newcastle finishing 8th is a good place for you to finish, but
that's a bit of an insult.
Wolves finishing 9th. I think Wolves are a good, solid Premier League outfit. I think the win games, I think they go under the radar in the Premier League because they don't really have many big slip-ups in terms of massive 5-0 losses and things like that. They consistently pick up points throughout the season and always seem to be in the top half.
Yeah.
And I think they've brought in a couple of good players this summer. They've just signed 2 Portuguese players for big money. So I think they're looking good this summer.
So I got West Ham in 8th.
West Ham in 8th. I've got Newcastle in 8th. Go on. West Ham 8th.
Well, West Ham 8th. I think the Nottingham Forest result was a freak result. I don't think Nottingham Forest deserved to get 3 points that game. I don't even think they deserved 1 point that game. I think they're a quality team. They've got some good signs brought in. They've signed the centre back.
The £30 million centre half, yeah.
Who's now injured.
Who's now injured for a little bit.
But they've brought in Cornet, quality player. If he can actually play in his preferred position of the left wing instead of a left back that he was at Burnley.
I've got West Ham finishing 7th, so I think Maxwell Cornet coming in, obviously signed for 17 million from relegated Burnley. He played left back at Burnley last season.
Yeah.
I think his goal and assist output playing left back in a relegation side was top draw.
Yeah.
If you stick him on the wing, creating chances alongside your Benramas and your Bournes, your Lanzinis, with the new signing Skamaka up front.
Yeah, I mean he looks
really
like he could
good
be dangerous.
side.
He looks like he could be dangerous.
I know we've just seen them get beat 2-0 off Brighton, but we'll leave that there.
Yeah. Next on 7th. Who have you got in 7th? So you said got West Ham.
I've got West Ham 7th. I've got Newcastle finishing 8th, but we'll touch on Newcastle when you say.
Yeah. So 7th, I've got Manchester United.
Go on, then we can speak about Man U because this could take a while. I've got them 6th, but this could take a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talking points over Man U from last season coming in this season. The summer, it's crazy.
Let's start off with the transfers. Club. So they've had a mare in terms of trying to bring players in.
That's the thing. They've got rid of 8, 9, 10 players.
Yeah.
And they've brought in 3, 4. What they brought in? They brought in 3 signings. 3 major signings as well.
So realistically, they needed a centre back. They got a centre back.
Martinez.
He's been bullied in the Premier League so far.
What happens is when you're playing as a centre back for Ajax in the Eredivisie, you've always got the ball. Fair enough, your qualities are on the ball. Top draw. I'm not going to take that away from him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get tested defensively in the Eredivisie because he plays for Ajax.
Yeah.
Now he's coming here, then he's realised that
how physical the league is.
This is a top quality league, and teams are going to target him because of his height. Doesn't matter if he's good at tackling and he can jump high and win a header.
Yeah.
He's going to be targeted.
Yeah.
And then you've got
Malacia
at left back.
I haven't seen anything of him. Because I haven't seen a single game of him played. I mean, apparently he's had a good pre-season, but Manchester United...
Man United had a good pre-season.
Man United were going to win the league based upon the pre-season.
Yeah, they were going Martial was going to win the Ballon d'Or and they were going to pay off that clause in his contract in Monaco, weren't they?
That's what I'm thinking. They had a great pre-season and then somehow just one player doesn't play in that system that they were playing on the pre-season, and the games and results and how they play is completely different. I saw clips of Manchester United playing in pre-season and I watched not a single minute of the Brentford game was anything like I saw
in pre-season. That's why it's pre-season.
And I was baffled. But the thing is though, the system was exactly the same in terms of the formation was exactly the same. But it's like they didn't even get into those positions that they were getting into during the games in pre-season. Yeah. To even put the passes into motion or put the system into motion. But
I mean, it's very interesting going from your first game of the season playing Eriksen as a striker to the second game of the season playing Eriksen as a CDM.
Which is just absolutely confusing.
But it goes to the point of, obviously, you've got Erik ten Hag coming in. He wants to put his own stamp and his own philosophy on everything, but yet you've still got the same players playing. You've got Maguire playing, you've got Shaw playing, you've got McTominay playing.
Yeah.
You've got David Tate keeps on playing, even though Ten Hag wants to play out from the back.
Yeah.
And everyone knows De Gea's poor playing from his feet, which they've got Dean Henderson, who's now out on loan of Forest. He wasn't happy with his situation last season, so he's gone straight out on loan. So you've got the same players playing all the time throughout, from Solskjaer through to Ragnick, now to Ten Hag. There's got to be something wrote in their contract saying that we have to play these games.
Yeah. Because
you've got a big profile manager in Ten Hag coming in, set to change everything up. Yet you've got, a 5-time Champions League winner in Varane sat on the bench.
I think it's 4.
4-time Champions League winner Varane.
Because 5 was this
sat
year
on the bench.
and Varane wasn't there, so I think it's 4.
So you know, you think of that way, and you've got to be benching Maguire, and the fact that they kept Maguire on as captain as well suggests that he is gonna have to play. You're not gonna drop your captain every game, are you?
So we'll talk about transfers.
Yeah.
Potential transfers coming in.
Yeah, this is a reason why I've got Man U sat 6th instead of lower down and potentially 7th.
Let's start off with Casemiro.
60 million.
Well, potential transfers. I'm pretty sure it's confirmed. No, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed. He's in Manchester now having a medical, isn't he?
I swear he's confirmed.
Yeah, he is. He's in Manchester having a medical.
So
£60 million signing.
He is one of the best CDMs currently in football.
Doubling his wages coming from Real Madrid as well.
I mean, he is worth it, yes, but let's.
My question being on the Casemiro transfer coming in is he a Ten Hag signing, or is he a Glazers signing who's panicking that the fact that everybody want them out and they're trying to make big money signings?
But the thing is, when you're Manchester United and your midfield is so poor, and you sign one of the best centre defensive midfields in the world, I think you've got to be fine with that.
It's a big plus point, but I'm saying, is it their manager's signing? Because Ten Hag plays all this high pressing football and he wants his midfielders to press. That's why he wanted Frankie de Jong so much. Casemiro is a player that Man U need.
Yeah. You got to remember, you said, is it a Ten Hag signing? Ten Hag's team used to be like max, like average height was so small. All their players were so small. Their midfield wasn't even that tall. They used to play Lasse Schöne in midfield with Frankie de Jong. Van de Beek.
Right, it was Van de Beek, Frankie de Jong, 6 foot. 6'1".
Well, yeah, but they're not like a massive team.
But
they're not like huge built players. They were quite skinny players.
Yeah, I think Casemiro coming into that team is one hell of a signing, and he is one of the best, if not the best, CDM in world football. I think, obviously, him coming out of Real Madrid, he did the dirty work at Real Madrid in that midfield, with obviously Modric and Kroos alongside him, winning tackles, chasing down, being aggressive. But his distribution when he gets a ball goes so underrated. As soon as he gets a ball, it isn't dilly-dallying on it. He'll think forward and he'll pass it straight on. His switches of players are awesome.
Does he not get the ball and pass it to the two players that he's played with for the past, 6 years plus? Of Kroos and Modric? So are we not about to see an explosion of Casemiro, and will he actually still be? Is he only the best CDM in world football right now because he's paired up with two of the most technically gifted centre mids when it comes to passing?
Well, that's the potential of it. It also could be playing in La Liga and obviously coming into Premier League, which is the best league and most hardest league to play in the world.
Well, I think it's the most hardest to adapt to from a foreign league because of the physicality of the league.
Big time.
The bottom three teams that we would normally have, as in Brentford, and we've just seen Leeds here. Leeds were scrapping away for survival. Brentford beat Man U 4-0.
And Leeds just beat Chelsea 3-0.
And Brighton beat
West Ham 2-0.
Well, no, not even that. Brentford beat Man U as well 2-0.
Yeah.
So teams that aren't normally fighting away for top 4 or even top 8 can still beat the top 4 teams.
Easily. But that's the thing with Man U. Is obviously they've got Fred. Now everyone always has mixed opinions about Fred. I think he doesn't know what he thinks of himself majority of the time.
Yeah.
But Brazil's starting midfield is Casemiro and Fred as a 2, and then they always have someone dropping into that midfield.
Yeah.
They've played something like 17 games together and won 15 out of them. Obviously, it's different playing international football to Premier League.
Yeah.
But if you then deploy a midfield that is used to playing together, then that could be a major plus for them. And then that will kind of maybe revitalise
snowball effect.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes, and he doesn't have to keep tracking back into midfield because McFred is playing.
Exactly. But the thing is, he used to be so good with McFred behind him.
Yeah, but then you've got Casemiro and maybe Fred coming into being a quality footballer that the thought they signed, and then Fernandes could shine from there.
So another potential signing. They've been linked with the player the entire transfer window.
Entire transfer window.
Anthony.
Yeah. Good signing.
It would be a good signing.
Someone that they need.
Yeah, so he can play on the left and right, and so can Jadon Sancho play on the left and right.
Yeah.
That might be the versatility that Manchester United need, and that could. And you saw quite a lot. We're going away from the Premier League a bit here, and it's a bit of a stretch in terms of comparisons. But the fluidity of the attack with Martial, Anthony, and Jadon Sancho, how they all three could play across the front three. This is going to be a bit of a stretch. And it's a comparison in terms of just front three players being fluid when playing football. And it's Barcelona of Neymar, Suarez, and Messi. How dynamic they were and fluid they were when it came to attacking.
Yeah.
Messi could go central. Suarez could pull off to the left. Neymar could be on the right. And it could go any way around.
We are not saying that they're as good as MSN.
Not in a million miles.
Years. It's just a comparison.
There's a comparison of
the fluidity of how they interchange positions.
Just the front three positions of fluidity. It's a comparison of how that works. It could work, but the thing is though, they played in a 4-3-3. Messi, Neymar, and they're playing in a 4-2-3-1, where the wingers are a little bit deeper.
Yeah, that's the thing with in pre-season they were like, oh, our forward line of Sancho, Martial and Rashford is also fluid together and they're going to be the best in this, that and the other. But then you've also, everyone knows, keynote over the entire summit is the Ronaldo situation.
Yeah,
now he's come out and said that he's going to speak in the media in a couple of weeks' time and to talk about things. But the only reason Casemiro is coming into the club is because Ronaldo and Varane are trying to get him in. Well, they've got him in now, and they're trying to get quality signings in because they know the squad and the team's poor. But that just shows that Ronaldo can't get a move away.
Yeah,
he can't. Everyone that's linked to him is saying no, and there's massive reasons behind that. So he's got to stick around for the season. I know Eric Ten Hag has said in the press that he's happy with having him at the club and he wants him to play and be part of his plan this summer. But does he? Does he actually want that?
I don't know.
Or is he going to be an issue with the football club for them in the summer?
Could be.
Well, through the season, sorry.
Yeah. So Manchester United were heavily talking about there. So let's move on to our next two, which is 5th and 6th place. Who have you got on 5th and 6th place?
Well, 6th is Man U for me, yeah. Chelsea 5th.
I've got Chelsea 5th as well.
Yeah,
I'm glad I put Chelsea 5th after that performance today. But
you've got Newcastle sat 6th.
Yeah, I do. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Newcastle.
I'll have a little discussion on Newcastle, considering you're wearing a Newcastle shirt.
We won't go too long. We'll keep it as brief as possible for Newcastle and Liverpool, even though it'll be a bit biased. But I'm trying not to be biased here. So
we had Newcastle, a good chat on Man U. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that shows that we're not biased because he's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, Newcastle are just extremely consistent now. We've got a great leadership team that we've just been created. We've got a great dressing room atmosphere. The training ground's improving in terms of what it was.
Yeah.
Just even if it's just little changes. Instead of plastic paper plates and plastic knives and forks, we've actually got
just around the club and the club environment and things like that.
It's
is
all
improving.
changing.
Yeah.
Instead of Manchester United, it's changing for the worse. So that's why I've got us finishing above. And even on the pitch, we've got some quality on the pitch. Gimenez, wow.
Yeah.
What a player.
Cracking football.
What a player.
Yeah.
What a player. And he is not. He wasn't a player. I thought he would have had a relegation clause. And he came out the other day. He joined while we're in a relegation scrap. He didn't put a release clause for relegation.
Yeah.
And so that just shows he's committed to the team. We've got a Sir Maximum, who is a quality footballer. He is a bit of a ball hog, don't get me wrong, But still, the quality that player has is unbelievable.
The thing I think he needs to improve on is his end product.
He can get
output
to places, but then the final little bit.
It's the final ball or the finish is always missing with him.
Yeah, 100%.
If he improves that, and because at the end of the day, yous are a team on the up. Like no one can doubt that yous, obviously with the financial takeover, yous are on the rise. If St. Maximin doesn't start putting out output, you can't just rely on his Dante skills anymore.
Yeah.
He's got to show other things.
But also, I know Callum Wilson, he's a quality footballer, but we are lacking in that striking department. We've talked about this before.
That's why I've got Newcastle 8th, is because, yes, Premier League proven goal scorer in Callum Wilson, but he is injury prone. Yeah. If he gets injured, you've got Chris Wood as your backup. Yeah. £20 million signing from Burnley, and the reason why you signed him was to get Burnley relegated. At the end of the day, take away their goal threat, use the safe if they get relegated. Yep. So then you look at the rest of your team. Where are your goals going to come from if you don't have Wilson?
No, 100% agree. But I think we need one more striker in, and
another winger. You need another forward, so you need a striker and a wide player.
So the players that we're currently linked with is Callum Hudson-Odoi, is James Maddison, who both can play on the right, and
I think if you
Gallagher.
sign James Maddison for the amount of money that is being talked about, he has to play in the midfield as the 10 to get.
We don't play as a 10. We don't have a 10.
Play in the midfield.
We've got a 4, 6 in it. 5, 6 in it.
Well, if you play him in the midfield to get the best out of him, because he likes to play in the pockets, receiving the ball and playing from those positions rather than picking the ball out wide. If you want to get the ball out of him,
there, he can play on the right and he can be effective on the right.
He can play out wide, but he
can do what Mason Mount does. Mason Mount plays on the right hand side, but wait a second. When he had a striker, he was more effective on that right hand side. But there's a zone on the pitch. The zone's split up into so many zones. Yeah, it's called. I believe it's called Zone 15, right? Yeah. Quote me if I'm wrong, but it's called Zone 15, and he played on the right and always got himself into that zone, or played on the left and got himself into that zone where he could shoot. But he's not doing that often. But James Maddison, if he played on the right hand side or on the left hand side, he can get himself into that zone. Or still, if you can play on that right hand side, he can affect the game a lot.
He can, but the difference there is the formation to what Mount's doing at Chelsea is the way Chelsea.
Yeah, but it's a winger regardless.
Chelsea
wingers like to get in that area a lot.
But Chelsea play with forwards because they have their wing backs who hold the width for them.
But Mason Mount is a central player that plays on the width and comes inside.
Sort of.
He's a central player. He started as a central mid.
I'm saying I know he's a centre mid, but I'm saying in terms of Chelsea's system, they're two. I'd say the two 10s. The players those forward.
If you look at his position on the pitch, they didn't have a number 9.
Chelsea didn't have to go off today's game. Chelsea didn't have a formation.
Well, yeah, but
the substitutions they made
so far wide is the two strikers or two so-called strikers. They played too wide.
Chelsea, man, honestly.
Anyway,
but
back to Newcastle. Signing Conor Gallagher, that'll be a good sign, but I feel like that also just disrupts our midfield quite a lot. Yes, he's a quality player, but
I think you need to add someone into that midfield just in case injuries happen.
He's wanting to push for first team. I think it'd be a good watch to see who would be better out of Joe Willock and him. Joe Willock is a good player. He wants to play for Newcastle.
But that's the thing, is you want to obviously compete and push in the Premier League, and obviously you're going to want a trophy, so he's going to have to compete in FA and Carabao Cup. Yeah. You're going to need good depth. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can't be scared about upsetting a squad. You just need to be ready to push, and competition is good. Yeah. Good competition in players.
So, 5th, we both got Chelsea. I think we both agree that they are a good enough team to be in 5th position, but it's results like that and results like the first game of the season as well against Everton, where they were just scraping a win against Everton. They got a unlucky draw against Tottenham, to be fair. They should have won that game.
And they've just been tongue off Leeds.
and they've been smashed off Leeds. That's why I wouldn't put them in the top 4. I think for the rest of the season, I think they would. They've still got a bit of time left in the window to get someone
They
else
need
in.
a striker. They do not have a number 9. We've just watched that game there. They do not have any focal point. Every time Havertz and Mount get the ball in those little pockets or out wide and things like that, you instantly want to put a ball in behind for a striker to get onto. But there is nobody there to play that pass to.
Exactly.
So until they get that problem solved, they may have a solution in the club with Broha coming in from Southampton back off his loan deal.
Yeah.
He looks like a really good striker.
But the thing is, if it's the cursed, that position is cursed at Chelsea.
It's the person who broke the curse and or breaking the curse was Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
And they let him go because, it's stupid as it is, isn't it? They said they let him go because they wanted a number 9. They wanted a striker. So they sold the player who scored the most goals for them last season in Tammy Abraham and bought Lukaku back, who had already shown...
the season before.
The season before. Who'd already shown that at a top club in the Premier League, he can't do it. He did it at Everton and West Brom. At Man U and Chelsea, he couldn't cut it. So they signed him for 100 million. Now he's back on loan for 10 million loan fee back into Milan. And then you've signed your other striker in... sold your other striker, I should say, in Timo Werner, back at Leipzig.
4th position, I've got Tottenham.
Spurs as well.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about Spurs?
Yeah, I think they're a solid outfit. Antonio Conte has been one of the best managers of this modern day era of football lately, in the past about 8 years. Antonio Conte has consistently won trophies everywhere that he's went.
Yeah.
So I think him as your manager, they've signed 9 players, 6 of them are like major signings. Improving that defence was a big point for them, and they've signed a few players in that.
Yep.
Obviously Perisic, playing as a wing back now, is an experienced player and a very good signing.
Yep.
Bentancur coming in from Juve in January has been an absolute revelation in that midfield for them. His tackling abilities and winning the ball back is top drawer, but his abilities on the ball, because Højbjerg does all the defensive work, his passing ability from there is top drawer. Kulevetsky as well.
Great player.
What a signing. What a signing he is alongside Kane and Son. We've got Spurs finishing Champions League, and although every team in the top 4 wants to be challenging for the title, it's not.
I just don't think they've got enough.
It's not realistic. So lineups are for the Newcastle game. So I don't think it's realistic on that note. Spurs challenging for titles these days. But finishing in the Champions League spot is good enough for them. Obviously their key signing is the pigeon, Richarlison.
Yeah.
From Everton, which I'm not a fan of.
I mean,
Richarlison.
just from Romero, he is a quality.
They signed him last season.
I know, but I'm saying
he is top quality, yeah. But I think they've just got Clement Longley in from Barcelona. I don't know how he's going to fit because he had a bad time at Barcelona.
I mean, you never know. It could just be the system, though.
But he could work because left-footed centre half is something they need. They signed that Spence from Middlesbrough. Mm-hmm. Interesting player coming up from the Championship. Yeah. May work. I think he plays either right centre back or right wing back, where Emerson Royale plays. Basuna coming in from Brighton is a top draw signing in that midfield.
100%.
They need the quality if they're going to compete in Champions League and in the league. So, like I was saying about Newcastle, quality and depth. Don't fear it. Just do it.
So, second and third, and first, we've all got the same 3 teams. Left to say. Yeah. But what order have you got it in? Start in first position, because I think we both know.
Top of the league, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not much discussion needed for Man City. They're a machine. No matter what player you put in that sort of team, they just seem to work.
Yeah, Man City just a formidable force.
And maybe he's apart from Grealish, but still, he's still part.
I think Grealish will come into his own and play well this season.
Hopefully.
I think he's going to have that left wing position for the majority of the season. Obviously, rotation will happen and things like that. But I think, in the opening day of the season, he grabbed his assist or 2 with Haaland scoring twice. I think he'll be a different player this season with a focal point to aim at in Haaland. Midfield is just unreal. Defensively, I mean, they've got Diaz,
they've got a lot of depth as well.
Stones, like their strength and depth is one of the best in the world, and in my opinion, I don't know, it's you that Man City are the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Of current, I don't think there's a team that comes close to them of current.
Yeah.
I know Real Madrid won the Champions League last season, but I think Man City are the best team in the world.
Right. Minor technical difficulty, but at least it was before we fully went into a topic there. Arsenal. Yeah,
they've signed well, like you were saying. The buying players they need and the fit the system that Mikel Arteta want to play.
100%.
Obviously everyone was always trust the process. Mikel Arteta in or out. Arsenal fans have been on about that for the past 2 seasons. This is coming into his 3rd season with Jurgen Klopp. And when we did a rebuild when he came in, which was very and truly needed.
Yeah. I mean,
it took us 3 seasons before we started to compete for trophies.
Yeah, I mean,
because it took us 3 seasons to get the right players in.
Arsenal have a quality side now. They've got a team that wants to win football games, wants the ball, constantly wants to play with the ball, constantly wants to attack, wants to get the ball in the dangerous zones, have players that are eligible to get into those dangerous zones, have players that are playing with the freedom, playing with the confidence. And I mean, it showed against who did they play last night? They played Bournemouth last night, and it showed, and they were ruthless. Gabriel Jesus was ruthless.
That's it.
Ødegaard looked. Well, I mean, the first 2 games, I didn't really see much of Ødegaard. I had bet on him to get assists.
Ødegaard, what a football player he is! Incredible.
He played really well.
Captain of Norway and Arsenal at the age of 22 years old.
Yeah, he's a quality player.
Like with Arsenal, it's not like they've signed loads of players. They've signed 5 players and 3 major transfers.
Yeah.
They've signed Vieira coming in from Porto into midfield. Again, another creative midfielder who can play as a 10 or in those 8 positions as well.
Yeah.
So quality signing in there.
That increases the depth in the midfield. But go back to the point we said before of Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah.
Are they wanting to sign Yuri Tielemans now? They've just signed another creative midfielder.
It's a massive thing for them. Is they've been wanting him for a while, and Tielemans wants to move, and he's very much an Arteta sort of player. You know, he's gonna, because they have such creative players going from, you know, you've got your back 4, you've got, because they play 4-2-3-1, you've got your back 4, you've got your 2, and then your other 4 is where all your creative spark comes from.
Yeah.
You just need players to win the ball back and just light a little spark for them. Mm-hmm. Just to play the ball into those creative players, and then they'll create the fire from there. So obviously you've got your Saka, your Martinelli, Smith
which are
Rowe,
young, hungry players that want to score goals.
Arsenal got the youngest squad in the league, and it's shown because everyone's so hungry and got that desire to play. Like, Xhaka is one of their most oldest and experienced players. Man's 28, 29-year-old.
Honestly, I genuinely think Arsenal have a better chance of pushing for the league than Liverpool does this season. The ways have looked in the first 2 games. We're going to move on to Liverpool now. The ways have looked in those first 2 games against opposition. One has just came up from the Championship.
Yeah.
And Crystal Palace. I mean, fair enough, they both are like 2 teams that are looking good this season, but you've got to remember, you've just played in a Champions League final, so you're competing for the highest accolade in football.
Yeah.
And you've came back and you've only just got a draw out of Fulham, who's just been promoted into the Premier League, and Crystal Palace, who were struggling last season.
So the thing with us is, we are always compared and have been for the past 4 or 5 seasons, and rightly so, because we're always competing with Man City. Mm-hmm. And I think that's got to be a massive accolade to us for competing with Man City, because they are so gone and away from every other club. We're 15 points behind them last season. We finished a point behind,
which is fair play. But then again, that you've got to be thinking. So you're like, oh, We've dropped you've dropped so many points last season. Last season there was 1 point, and you've now already dropped 4 points in the first 2 games against teams that realistically you should be beating.
Well, that's us. Is our downfall is always drawing games. Is that last thing, and obviously everyone always talks about the fact that Man City have done what they did last season and stuff like that without a striker. People always forget is we haven't had a number 9, a quality number 9 since Suarez. Fair enough, our system is created around having a false 9 and 2 wingers, inverted wingers coming in to score the goals.
Mm-hmm.
But Man City create chances like that from inverted wingers and they score goals all over the pitch.
Yeah.
We are exactly the same. We haven't had a number 9. So we've obviously our key signing this summer has been Darwin Núñez.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously the other night headbutt against Anderson, he's going to miss the next 3 games, and defenders are going to be on his case for the rest of the season, just nitpicking at him, trying to get him sent off all the time because he's shown he's got a temper.
Yeah.
So that could be a little sticky downfall for him. But also another one would be his comparisons to Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the end of the day, people have known about Haaland for the past 2-3 seasons. People have only known about Núñez since the Champions League last season.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he's come in for big money, but at the end of the day, take away the money factor and look at the quality of footballer that he is, and he can score goals for us, and he'll fit with us with the amount of balls we get in the box from Trent, from Robbo, Hendo, Thiago, things like that. He'll get the chances to prove himself and score goals. Other signings, Carvalho, young
he's a good
footballer,
signing.
he looks really good. And Calvin Ramsey coming in from Aberdeen, back up right back. Haven't seen much of him, but I've heard good things about him. So
You've obviously got a quality team, but what I'm saying is that you can't be dropping these points against teams that you have to be beaten.
Big time, I agree. And obviously with the Premier League and the Champions League getting more and more competitive in terms of, Arsenal looking good, Spurs looking good, Chelsea well looking good, that it's going to be harder and harder for us to, get up to those Man City levels and compete and always challenging for the Champions League spots.
I think it's just the whole league becoming
the whole league's becoming even better, and at the end of the day, not to use, like everyone always talks about Klopp's excuses, and the other night against Fulham, pitch is dry, stuff like that. Like, I know it's my manager saying it, but I don't have to back him up on it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not an excuse. It's a massive reason. The reason why we're struggling at the start of the season, we've got 10 first team footballers out injured. 10 players who can compete for those starting 11 spots.
Yeah.
All out injured. So there's got to be something in the background going on. Our physios,
your physio needs to be sacked.
Our training must be, I don't know what at this point, because we can't. With 2 games in the season, we've got that many players missing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we drew our first 2 games. You always look to the bench to see what players you can come on.
Yeah.
We've got a youth team on the bench at the minute because all of our strength and depth is back back home injured.
Exactly.
So we don't have anyone to come on. So I think when we start getting players back, then we'll start to look strong again.
Yeah.
But it's the case of we've already dropped 4 points to Man City already in a title challenge. If people always want to say that we're going to be in a title challenge, I don't think there's going to be a title challenge this season from anybody, because Man City are just a different level of football team.
I think you already are at the title challenge, because realistically you lost the title by 1 point this season. You've already dropped 4.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, January last season we're 15 points behind, and we pulled it back to 1. So there's always a case for that. For me personally, I think we will finish second, and I think we'll come back strong. I think we do need to dip back into the market. I know we won't, but we do need to dip in and get a midfielder. But I know we won't, because the board won't pay out for anyone else now until next summer. So
that's
that.
I think that's been a good
video
good
to
podcast.
start off with.
So that was our Premier League predictions.
I'm sure we'll do a review of it about midway, and then obviously at the end of the season, see how wrong we probably are.
Exactly. So leave some comments in the comment section to see if what you enjoyed about the video, what you'd improve. Tell us some of your predictions. Ask us some questions as well.
If you've got anything to say about any of the discussions we've had about Man U or where Newcastle are going to finish and things like that, please drop it in below, and we'll
also
have a
give us
read
some
of
video
them.
ideas as well. We're always keen to video ideas, so if anyone's got any ideas that you think we should cover in these videos, just let us know and put it in the description. But thank you very much for watching.
Thanks guys.